YouTube, it's me Bergie and I'm here with a new video, and as you can see from the title, I'm going to be giving you guys a series review for Robin Hobb's Farseer Trilogy. This is the suggested place to start when reading Robin Hobb's books, especially all the books series within her overarching Realm of the Elderling series. And this series contains obviously 3 books. They are Assassin's Apprentice, Royal Assassin, and Assassin's Quest. Now, it took me a while to read them. I read the first book, I think, in late winter, early spring of 2018. I read the second book in the end of summer, I feel like, of 2018, and then I finished the series in 2019 in January. And let me tell you, even though it was slow going, I still enjoyed it so much, and that's why I'm making this separate review, so I can spread the love for this series. Because I feel like Robin Hobb's fantasy series are kind of overlooked in the fantasy genre, at least on booktube, which is surprising because like she is such a big fantasy writer, I feel like. I don't know how to describe it, but I feel like if you love fantasy, you have to have heard of Robin Hobb, and I'm just surprised that a lot of fantasy readers on booktube don't talk about her. And I want to change that because she's awesome. This series is a first-person point of view fantasy novel that is partially written by the main character, but is also like a first person following of his experiences. So it's a bit of an actual first person conversation with the reader, and then just following the character going through his life in first person. So this main character that we follow, this narrator, is a young bastard to the prince-in-waiting of the 6 duchies, which is the name of this fantasy country. And the prince-in-waiting's name is Chivalry. At the age of 6, this bastard is basically dropped off on the doorsteps of this prince-in-waiting because his mother's family does not want to care for him anymore, and is instead put in the care of Chivalry. But because Chivalry is already married and doesn't have any kids with that wife, he kind of feels ashamed, so therefore he not only leaves the bastard child to be cared for by his long-trusted animal tender, Burek, but Chivalry also forfeits his title as Prince-in-Waiting. So, from this point on, the bastard, now known as Fitz, is brought up as a stable hand until Chivalry's father, King Shrewd, decides to have Fitz trained as an assassin. Hence the book's names within the series. So that's the basic plot that we start off with. I don't want to go into much more detail because it would end up spoiling a lot of stuff, but I want to make note that there are 2 prevalent magic systems in this series. The first being the skill, which is a magic held in high esteem by this fantasy world, mostly because it's possessed by the royal family itself and also other higher up people, so it's kind of seen as a good thing. And with this power, you can communicate with other people over far distances. You can attack enemies and perform just any other like mental magic kind of stuff, because it is kind of a more mind power. And then on the other hand, there is another magic system called the wit, which is definitely not held high at all. Actually, it is very much feared and denounced by this world, but it's really weird because it's kind of the same thing as a skill, but instead of communicating with other people with your mind, you communicate with animals. And this communication is so strong that it leads to a very personal bond between the animal that the person with the wit is kind of communicating with, or is kind of befriended. And because of the fear, people think that those with the wit eventually turn into beasts themselves. Those are the basic things you need to know when going into the series. I absolutely love the series, as I said before. While it starts very slowly, and it does start very slow, like extremely slow. It takes forever within the first book to get into it. I actually didn't get into it really until like the last chunk of it, but it's totally worth it because it's absolutely necessary for the series to start off slow and just kind of slowly snowball into the more gripping aspects of the book. And I think it's, again, necessary because you need to have a fully formed world for this fantasy, and it takes a lot of time to get all the intricate aspects of this world fully described in a way to make it real, seem real, or at least believable. So within this story, Robin Hobb is able to not only create such a fully formed world, but she includes very three-dimensional characters and convincing realistic conflicts. So again, this slow progression is worth it in order to get all of those aspects fully formed. So with the setting, it's totally immersive, as all aspects of living within this society are fleshed out. You learn about the royalty, you learn about the more peasants, you learn about different people within this world, like different countries within this world. And it's not all at once. It's not like you're getting bombarded with this information. It's revealed very spread out, but it's very fitting. The characters as well have so many facets to them that they seem as if they truly lived. And this is only increased by the complicated relationships. All of the characters have their own thoughts, their own actions, their own believable traits that are then carried out by their actions. And the relationships between the characters are again complicated and have multiple dimensions to them, which again make it more real. But despite how well done the setting and the characterizations of the different characters in this series are, the most important part is the conflicts, and I think it was just beautifully well crafted how she does all the conflicts, because there is no single conflict that is going throughout each book or throughout the entire series. And because of this, the whole plot is not taken from exposition to climax to resolution in a very formulaic way. Instead, it's more realistic because there are multiple plots or multiple conflicts going on at a time and build together, though at different paces. And there is no single overarching apex to this conflict, but rather they're staggered. And because of that, you'd think the plot is kind of disjointed, but it's totally not. All of these different conflicts are interwoven perfectly. So like when one conflict is rising, another one is just right under the surface, maybe not building, but it's still there. And just as one is ending, you might get the start of a new one coming into the forefront, or there might be two others going on simultaneously. It's just intricately done in a way that makes the story very realistic. And I know this is a fantasy series, so it's obviously not real, but because of the ways Robin Hobb interweaves the conflicts, the various conflicts with the characters and the setting, it's just, you could feel as if it was actually in existence. But honestly, all I can just say is that this series is amazing. I definitely recommend you read the Farseer Trilogy by Robin Hobb if you love fantasy, or if you enjoy slow burn books because it is, again, definitely a slower book, because it has to build all of the different puzzle pieces of the storyline to be fitting in a well done way. And once things eventually get started, because it eventually get more gripping and a bit more fast paced, but not as fast as some like other books. But once you get to that point and you feel the different threats and danger that's going on, you can't help but be hooked and just want to read more. So honestly, I just can't recommend the series enough. And personally, I can't wait to continue on with the other series within Robin Hobb's overarching realm of the Elderling series. And hopefully I'll be continuing that soon. I just have to get my hands on the books. But yeah, I totally love this series, and I do recommend you pick it up. If you have, please let me know your thoughts. I would love to get a discussion on how awesome the Farseer Trilogy is by Robin Hobb. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys in my next video. Bye.